All right, so I got a request from Pillar of Heaven. Thank you very much for commenting, by the way, to review Psalms 137, verse 9. But before we get into all that, let's go into Psalms 137 itself, starting with verse 1. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. Verse 2, we hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. Verse 3, for there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. Verse 4, how shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? Verse 5, if I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. Verse 6, if I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth, if I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. Verse 7, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. Verse 8, O daughter of Babylon, who are to be destroyed, happy shall ye be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Verse 9, happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. Let me read that again. Verse 9, happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. Now, this is the King James Version. If we go into the New Living Translation, it basically goes, happy is the man that seizes his children and dashes them against the rocks. So, for historical context regarding this particular psalm, it's important to note that the Edomites had looted Jerusalem, and to add insult to injury, the Babylonians had seized and captured Jerusalem and afterwards destroyed it completely to the ground. The people of Jerusalem were utterly shaken when in the presence of the Babylonians. They were taken, they were captured, they were basically exiled in Babylon, a land that was completely unfamiliar to them. And not only that, but Jerusalem's children had also been destroyed as well. They had been killed unmercilessly. Seen as one of the songs of Zion was basically the Babylonians' way of mocking the people of Jerusalem, because, well, of course, they would be in a land that is completely unfamiliar and foreign to them. And to top it all off, they were basically mocked for their views. They were completely shaken. They were, to put it into words, they were given the most unjust treatment, and they had just been reduced to nothing. But we look at Psalms 137:9 as basically a cry of revenge for Jerusalem's people against Babylon. But it also should be important to note that later on in Scripture, specifically Romans chapter 12, that even though there's this cry of revenge, no human should have the right to enact that judgment. They have no right to enact revenge themselves. In fact, 2,000 years after Jesus had suffered torture, was resurrected from that grave, because he went through the torture, he went and was crucified willingly, he gave himself up as a final sacrifice, he gave up his life, he was buried, and on the third day came out of the tomb. 2,000 years after that, there have been people, especially religious people, throughout the course of human history that basically enacted righteous judgment themselves, especially against sinners. It is still very important to note that it's not human will to go about the act of revenge. It is God who has the final say in that. In Scripture, Romans chapter 12, let me emphasize, it reads, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. and I shall repay it.